All right, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Betty Burke, the Executive Director of NANOG, to help us close out the program.
Hi, everyone. Great NANOG meeting. Do you agree? Good, thank you. Well, this is the closing remarks section. It's my opportunity to share some demographic information with you, just a little bit of history as we close this meeting out and look forward. So without further delay, let me give you just a snapshot of some of the survey data. I'm not going to read the screen to each one of you, but you can see that the surveys are online and open, both for NANOG 67 and the hackathon. If you haven't completed your survey, you don't get a prize now, but we do welcome your feedback. It's important. Sean, the program committee, Will, I, and the board, we do pay attention to what you have to say, so we welcome that input. Thank you to all of our host and connectivity and premium sponsors. This is a big job to put together a NANOG meeting, and I could not do this on your behalf, and they make it a whole lot easier for all of us. So if you wouldn't mind, thank you to all of them. The next group of sponsors and contributors are here on this slide, and the difference between this slide and the previous is that the previous sponsors, the premium sponsors, are here for the whole 3-meeting series, and these are folks that are signed up just to help here at NANOG 67, and we like to represent them and thank them for their participation as well. NANOG 67 stats, it's always my opportunity to share a sort of highlight about the folks that were here at the meeting, and I have little data. It's not something I've typed up, but I wanted to see how Chicago compared to San Diego and how it compared to last June. And so I looked back in time for a little trending data, and we find that being back in Chicago is a little lighter in terms of attendance. Overall, in February last year at February in San Diego, we had 1,100 individuals, and a year ago in June, we had 1,200, over 1,200. So a little smaller meeting, roughly the same time of the year, so it gives you an indication of the local flavor or registration. I think there is a lot of meetings in Chicago that may have contributed to that recently, but in any case, it is what it is. Member registration, it's interesting. I always like to see how many of our attendees at a given meeting are members, and it's pretty consistent, about 24%. So thank you, members, for coming to the NANOG meetings. Student registration, over San Diego in last June, it's about the same, a little less than it was in February, and I suspect that was a lot because of the college immersion program. We had a few more participants in February than we have here in Chicago. The number of females, which I think is really interesting as well, and this is as reported on your registration form. It's a good note in that our trend is up from 8% a year ago, 9% in February, and 11% of our attendance. The countries represented at any one given NANOG meeting is just about the same, 27, 26. So just a highlight of what makes up NANOG. I think the next slide is also interesting because I always like to know what is our core area of participation. So rather than give you a bunch of numbers, I thought a nice pie chart would be good to show you, and it indicates that we're pretty consistent in what I've reported over the years in terms of as you report your area of representation here at the meeting. Special thank you to all of you for attending, because without the attendees, there would be no NANOG. So while the conversation is both positive and negative at times and controversial or not, you do make up NANOG. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to our members for supporting the board and the committees and myself. Without the membership, we wouldn't be here either, so thank you. Our sponsors make it possible to financially do other things and afford an NANOG meeting, keeping a nice, healthy balance, and as opposed to a red one, a black one. And thank you to Valerie and Dave for helping me produce this meeting for you. Our contractors represented here are IP Miller, Verilan and Cirrus. They do our public relations, sponsorship, networking services, and Wi-Fi. And then a special thank you to the silent heroes. You see them in registration and at food and beverage, but if you wouldn't mind thanking the Hamilton Group representatives, Michelle, Lee, Allison, and Maxie. They do an awesome job getting you through the meeting. The next slide is my introduction, a reminder to all of you. I'm not going to read all these dates, and I'll post them on the website in just a few days. But as we look forward, it's a reminder that we're approaching elections. So think about participating as a board member, submitting some nominations. If you have anything that you feel needs to be addressed in the bylaws, this is the time to start thinking about it as we lead into the October meeting where we actually vote as members. The election process is open to everyone, so the conversation is NANOG-centric, but the actual voting is to members only. If there's any questions anyone ever has about the election process, you can always email me directly or elections@nanog.org, as we do have a group of individuals behind me that are participating and overseeing the election process. Let's see, what else? And then we have some save the dates. I have 2 slides here. I want to draw your attention to our future meetings and locations. I know that some folks can only go to 1 meeting a year. Some of you are here every meeting throughout the year, but these are dates to put on your calendar to save the date. We are anticipating NANOG 68 in Dallas to be another big meeting, and we're expecting some competition for the room block. So we have DNS OARC before NANOG, and we have Aaron after NANOG. So make sure if you're planning on coming to get your hotel reservation placed. If you're interested in hosting a NANOG meeting, you'll see some openings there in Denver and in Vancouver. If you're interested, let me know. I'm going to turn the mic over here, but I wanted to also point out the future dates for NANOG on the Road in sort of our roundup for 2016. The NANOG meeting at the Marriott in July already has registration open and a strong attendance. September, we don't have registration open just yet. Well, we will be opening that soon, and we're working on the agenda as well. So I'm going to turn it over here now and let Sean talk about the upcoming call for presentations and NANOG on the Road.
Thank you, Betty, and just on behalf of the PC, we really enjoyed NANOG on the Road. It's a great experience. If we're coming to your city, we'd love to see all of you there. We bring some of the same content, some of the same speakers. In fact, I'm looking at one of the speakers from New York in the audience about halfway back. And it's a smaller group, so you get a chance to ask questions. You can converse a little more with the speakers. So even if you come to the main meetings, if we're nearby, we'd love to have you at NANOG on the Road. And certainly, the way we keep growing that attendance is by passing it along. So if you can pass it on to your colleagues, your operations directors and managers and provisioning folks and so on, we'd love to get them involved in NANOG, keep them in the networking business, grow the next generation, add some students. So help us out with the attendance and bringing new people into the fold. All right, we've got a bit of an eye chart, but basically in 2 weeks, we're opening the call for presentations for NANOG 68. We've already got some ideas for content. We've talked to people here. You're welcome to catch me after this presentation if you have any questions about that. When you submit a presentation, you'll be assigned a PC Shepherd, and that Shepherd helps you with the submission process. They can also help you with the content. So we are an operator forum. We encourage operators to speak. We want to hear your experiences. Some of you may not be experienced speakers. You may not feel comfortable entirely about your content. We'll help you. We'll make you confident. There are slide decks that had 7 revisions before they're presented here, and I didn't see a single presentation here that wasn't worthy of being on the program. So if you submit something, we'll work with you, try to make sure we can get you on the program. As Betty said, keep note of when the hotel block closes, but also make your reservation in advance. If you think you're going to the meeting in Dallas, reserve a hotel room so you're in the room, in the same hotel. You can always make some changes before the date without any penalty, usually, and that way you're not forced to walk a couple blocks or find a more expensive hotel. And lastly, just as Betty mentioned, we will be joined by DNS OARC the weekend before NANOG. We'll have our regular 3-day NANOG meeting, followed by Aaron, who will also be holding elections and community meetings and other sessions that they'd love to have you involved in too. So with that, I'd like to close the remarks and open the microphones if there are any questions for any of us or anything related to NANOG that you'd like to bring up.
Wow, you're still all awake. That's good. And I'm glad there are no questions. No, I'm just kidding. But again, thank you for coming here to this meeting in Chicago. It's been a while since we've been to Chicago, and it was great to see so many friendly faces here. And thank you to the board, the program committee, all of us together bring this meeting to you. And safe travels, and see you in October. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Thank you. And just a reminder that we do have an evening social, and there's some signage out front for transportation arrangements. If you're able to stay for the evening, join them for a nice evening event closing out the meeting. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.